All right, guys, it's good to be back home this week in the division. Cincinnati's coming off a big win. Their confidence is at an all-time high. Offensively, they've got Andy back in. He's been in a lot of good big games throughout his career and has been very successful. We expect nothing else from him. Joe Mixon's one of the more dynamic backs in the National Football League. Can take it the distance anytime he touches the ball. Receivers, Boyd's been targeted a lot. It's been very productive for them. They're getting Ross back this week, which we have to prepare for his speed and his ability to make plays. Defensively, Carlos Dunlap and Gino's been there for a long time. Has been very productive. Carlos is coming off 3 sacks in this past game. Was just named AFC Defensive Player of the Week. So we expect nothing but their best. They've done a very good job down in the red zone. I think they're ranked 3rd in the league in the red zone. So we've got to do a good job with our preparation and making plays once we get down there. Any questions?
How did Olivier come out of the game?
Good. I think he ended up with 14 plays, something like that. A little sore, but we'll continue to see what he can do during the course of the week and continue moving forward with it. He should be, yes.
J.C. Tretter was kind of limping around during the game. Is J.C. okay with, I think, a knee?
J.C. got banged up a little bit. It was a physical football game, and we're dealing with some bumps and bruises. But injury-wise, we should get Eric back today on the practice field, see where he's at, just continuing to increase his role from the standpoint of seeing him move along a little bit further with his injury. Greg cleared the concussion protocol this morning, so he'll be back. So that'll be a big get. We need to continue to focus on our preparation with those 2 guys and see where we're at the end of the week.
How about David Njoku? How close is he to being game ready?
Yeah, I think David's getting close. I mean, he's he practiced a little bit more last week, and he's getting closer.
What do you think of the way Carlson has been playing?
I think he's Steven's a good, dependable. You know where he's going to be. He's not gonna. He's going to make the plays that are there to be made. He's reliable. I'm really, really, really happy with what he's given us offensively, and from a special team standpoint. Sometimes you need guys just to go in and do their job on special teams as well, and he's done a good job in all areas. I'm very happy with what Steven has brought to us.
We've asked a lot of questions this year about Odell and targets and opportunities and all those type of things. Did you just talk about what he's been like, though, behind the scenes? He came to Cleveland with this reputation that he was, for lack of a better phrase, a problem child, but it doesn't seem that that's what he really is. Could you just talk about what he's like behind the scenes?
Well, when Odell first came, I think I told you guys I don't judge anybody off what anybody else does. I like to see it for myself, and Odell's done everything we've asked him to do. It's been no problem at all. I don't know. Different situations are different for different people, and Odell's been a good teammate. He's been, he's been good.
Hey, Freddie, back to David Njoku for a second. He said the last couple of weeks that he's been ready and he feels great. So is it a matter of you needing to see more from him on the practice field, or you like your guys right now? I mean, he's a former first-round pick who's waiting to get out there.
Well, yeah. I mean, but we worry about what I don't get into where they're drafted and stuff like that when they start playing. David took 9 or 10 weeks. There was 9 or 10 weeks there where we just want to make sure that he's ready to go. That's all. Because there's no half step in it. Once you're at the game from that spot, he has to play. So there's no. You're limited on how many guys you can have at the game. So you need to make sure that he can do all the things that he needs to do, not just in one area, but in all areas, especially at that position.
How difficult was it for you guys as an organization to release Chris Smith, given everything that he's been through this season?
Well, Chris, that happened after the first game, the first home game. Chris has got a lot of people that are close with within the organization. Chris is a good person. I still remember the morning that it all happened. I was at his house and we talked, and some of those conversations that you have with a person builds your identity as a relationship. And it's very difficult anytime you release a player that is the type of person that Chris is. And he certainly is a good person. We will continue to, our football relationship with Chris ended. That doesn't mean our personal relationship, from my standpoint, and his teammates in this organization, will always be there to support Chris.
Was there some thought to just, hey, we got 4 weeks left, let's keep him around just from a humanity standpoint?
That's all, it's difficult to do things like that because it's always difficult to cut someone. In this instance, it was even more difficult, yes.
Was it easier to keep him when Garrett was on the field? I mean, there was less of a need.
It's always, when Garrett's on the field, when Miles is on the field, it's always easier to keep people because Miles is going to play, 90% of the plays.
Freddie, will Baker be limited at all today with the hand?
No, it should not be. No.
What about Demarius Randall? You expect him, is he here? He's going to be on practice field.
Yeah, Damaris, I trust Damaris is going to go out and prepare and play, and everything's the same. Damaris, I have no problems with Damaris.
Do you think his teammates have any problem with him?
I would assume that everybody has, no, I would not assume that.
Towards the end of the half, in Pittsburgh, you guys threw 2 deep balls to Odell. Is that an example of just trying to get one of your best players involved, the double coverage deep? Baker still gives him a chance. Is that just trying to get him involved despite the coverage?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just try to take a shot. There's several things that can happen when you throw the ball with the lack of time that you had on the clock, and you have to eat up 45, 50 yards and not have any timeouts left at that time. So, yeah, you could draw a penalty. He could catch the ball. Several things could happen and not much downside to it.
I know we've asked you this for 12 weeks, but Odell has been targeted only 7 times in the red zone. And when you watch tape, do you see opportunities that aren't taken, or it just seems baffling that that's all he's had?
We try to get our players the ball when we can, and there's a lot of things that dictate that, but of course we want more targets for Odell in the red zone. We want more targets, successful targets with all of our guys.
What's on that Baker, we talked about the interception Monday, but on that fumble in the third quarter, he's been pretty good about protecting the ball. So what's your coaching point to him? Did you think the hand affected that at all?
I don't know. I don't know about the physical part of the hand and all that kind of stuff. I just know that, and Baker understands, when we're outside the pocket, we're more vulnerable to things like that happens, and we need to protect the ball. It's just as simple as that. He knows that. We've moved on, and that's it.
Freddie, you talked about not matching the intensity as a team, but you pinpointed up front specifically and said, you alluded to problems in protection. Are you going to go with status quo on the O-line, or are you looking at changes there again?
We're going to make decisions this week based on the best position we can put ourselves in to beat Cincinnati. We're focused on Cincinnati. We can't do anything about last week, so we're always just going to move on to the next week. That's all. So, I don't know.
Anticipate Baker will be a little bit limited.
I wouldn't tell you now anyway. So,
Will Baker be limited today in his throwing with the hand?
no, he should not be.
So going back to the O-line protection, Dunlop and Atkins, you mentioned them and you're open. What makes those guys so good for a long time, such good players?
Yeah, Gino has always been an explosive guy, can get pushed in the pocket. And then you have Carlo, the way pass rushing works is you like to get pushed in the pocket, and you'd like to have somebody around the edge and kind of encapsulates the quarterback. And they do a good job of that. They've done a good job of that for a long time. So they kind of play off of each other, Carlos can get around the edge. Gino can push the pocket. They've got other guys up front that play with extreme high motors, and I think they're pretty good up front.
You talked in the camp a lot and early in the season about the D-line being a strength of this team. And now, obviously, Miles isn't there and Olivier hasn't been there. And then you have new guys like Cox and Gustin playing. Is it disconcerting at all that that position of strength all of a sudden has a whole bunch of new faces in there at a key point in the year?
Well, that's the battle of the NFL, right? It's a lot of times it's there's an old saying that if you keep them, eventually they're going to play for you, and when they play for you, they need to play well enough to win. And that's the reason I always say that if we put somebody out there, he's expected to play well and play winning football. And I'm happy with the guys that we've brought in. John and those guys have done a good job of finding people to replace guys as we lose guys. And that's part of the league, too, is finding guys like Gustin and Brian and, that can come in and take snaps and be productive when they're in there.